So another quick 40k rules update today. Let's talk about the changes that are coming for Chaos Demons. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today we're talking about a minor 40k rules update, where Games Workshop have altered the rules for the crazy big demons that the Chaos Demons get in the Imperial Armour Compendium. So this update is one that's quite common to a lot of 40k codexes once they release. Games Workshop follows up usually a week or two later with some patch rules to make their exotic units out in Resin into playable ones for the army, as basically the demons do have a few units in the Imperial Armour Compendium which aren't in the codex, and therefore all their keywords and things won't work with the new rules until they have a patch. For the demons, it does seem like they've been at least fairly prompt with this one. The Chaos Space Marines were waiting really quite a while to get some basic keywords on things like Contempt to Dreadnoughts and Dreadclaw drop pods, though I guess compared with the Chaos Space Marines, the demons one isn't really all that much effort. They don't really have all that many datasheets, so it's perhaps a bit more of a simple job than the Chaos Marines one, who have quite a lot. Currently in the Imperial Armour Compendium, I believe that the demons have 7 major Forge World datasheets. Forge World sells some bigger forms of the greater demons, the Demon Lord type ones, such as Zarakhinel, the Exalted Keeper, and big character versions of the Bloodthirster, Lord of Change, and Great Unclean one. Prior to the Demon Codex dropping, the only real one that was played competitively all that much tended to be Zarakhinel, the Exalted Keeper. That one did compete fairly well, to be honest, with a sword that dealt a whole load of mortal wounds and seemed fairly comparable to the Keepers of Secrets in the main codex. Beyond them, they had a few special demon princes as well, 2 Nurgle ones, Mammon Transfigured and Korvax Otterblight, both of them fairly slow moving and tanky but okay in combat. And for the Khorne demons, they had Errata the Warfiend, a Khorne demon prince with a great big axe that you can see on the right here. The main issues for fielding these units are that their keywords don't work, the datasheets reference a whole load of rules that just plain don't exist on the new codex, they need some new demon saves rather than the invul saves that they had, and often with these Imperial Armour updates they often make a few other basic changes just to make the units feel kind of in line with their codex counterparts. It does vary a bit as to how much effort they go to with this though. Say for example the Custodians with the Adrasite spears never got their basic spear loadout updated to the Guardian spear profile, despite it being basically the same weapon. So to talk over the changes that Tzeentch has brought us, first up they basically just deleted a whole bunch of key rules off the Demon's units, notably Demonic Ritual, as summoning isn't a thing anymore, and then the innate buffs from the other deities, things like Disgustingly Resilient, which is no longer a thing, and the extra Khorne combat buff on the charge, Demonic Swiftness for Slaanesh, and the 4+ invul thing from Tzeentch. I guess they will have access to at least some of the rules from the codex, things like easier deep strikes if they want to, the effects of the warp storm abilities, and any relevant psychic powers or other buffs that happen to be able to affect big models. In general though, I do feel that these models are losing quite a lot in this update. They lose all those innate rules that they had at base and were kind of accounted for in their points costs, and they're also going to be losing the demonic locust type rules, say most notably the advance and charge for the Slaanesh Greater Demon. It does seem to me at least overall they're probably going to be weaker after this update. Otherwise, keywords wise, they've added Legion's Demonica to all the models, as that's the Time Together army rule. The Greater Demons have all gained the Warp Locust keyword, kind of makes sense as that's similar to the character Greater Demons in the Chaos Demons Codex. Units like Scarbrand and Fate Weaver both got their character Locust buffs. I guess that would make them some pretty reliable deliverers of nearby demons to combat. Then they've handed out a whole bunch of demon saves. Most of them get the fairly standard character one where it's a 5+ save in combat and a 4+ save at range. I guess that's technically a save improvement for the 3 demon princes, though with the loss of Disgustingly Resilience, the Nurgle ones are likely to be less resilient than before still. Losing a 5+ Feel No Pain for gaining no rule in replacement is going to be a major blow. Otherwise, out of the Demon Lords, they all previously had a stock 4+ invul at range and melee, and that's replaced by the same 5+ 4+, though a couple of them do have their standard variations. Say the Bloodthirster gets a 4+ and 4+ both at range and melee, so he's basically the same. And the unique Lord of Change, whose name I'm not sure I want to pronounce, but let's go for Aetos Raukeres. He gets the 3+ save at range and 5+ in melee, as per the other Lords of Change. I guess these invul saves now can't be punched through by things like, say, Bellacor's sword or Tau railguns, so even if they might be a bit worse in combat, I guess at least that is one positive. Otherwise, the only other change is Scabythrax, the Greater Demon of Nurgle, getting Toughness 9 as well. Previously he was toughness 8, so it's a small increase. It'll definitely help him out a whole load against things like missile launchers and melter guns that'll now wound him on 5s, but I still feel against the majority of targets he is still probably going to be weaker overall. Losing Disgustingly Resilient effectively means he's got a lot less wounds to play with, and of course he's now got a worse demon save in melee than he had before, so it's going to be a bit easier to kill there, not saving on a 4+ invul. Overall, I think it's a bit of a mixed bag, really. If you actually own these models and really want to put them on the table, I guess they are playable now, and they will have their rules that actually function with the Chaos Demons Codex. But to be honest, in terms of balance, they don't really seem too balanced against the Codex versions. Things like the standard Keeper of Secrets, Lord of Change, and Bloodthirster just seem to wipe the floor per points compared with these greater counterparts. The wounds difference isn't really that big a deal anymore, and a lot of their war gear and powers got buffed, so there's just not really all that much draw to running these big fancy ones from Forge World compared with the plastic kits that Games Workshop sell. I perhaps see why they might have dropped the points cost on these ones a bit. I think all of them went down like 50 points in the Nephilim update. Maybe this was in anticipation of that, and all of them looking a bit more underwhelming in comparison. I guess at least in the Lord of War detachment they no longer pay the extra CP for inclusion now, so I guess that is one minor benefit in Nephilim too. Overall though, I'm not really sure that it's the worst thing to have these being really quite niche models that aren't the competitive go-to. I think if you're a new player who's collecting Chaos Demons, it's probably a bit nicer, say, having the more recent and snazzy looking plastic kit for the Keeper of Secrets being the one that you really want, rather than a massive and incredibly expensive chunk of Forge World resin. Say for example the Games Workshop Bloodthirster is $150, and the big Angrath type model is $286, so significantly more expensive. I think if I were wanting to run these in game, I would probably just use them as the standard rules for the base model in the codex. They are after all big greater demons of one sort or another, just cosmetic differences really. I think most people will be very happy to run them that way. I think in particular compared with the demon lords, Be'lakor does seem to be just a fair bit better himself as well. It's hard to see you really wanting to take one of these 400 point models compared with Be'lakor for just 20 points more. He gets the Warp Locust for every single one of the Chaos Gods, is generally tougher than any of these, and generally fights better as well, plus has useful Psychic for bouncing models around the board. If you want to field a massive great big demon that costs a lot of points at the moment, he's probably the way to go. Finally, I did notice a few comments saying that they might have left out the technical updates to give these greater demons access to their psychic powers from the right discipline. In the new Chaos Demons Codex, they've technically renamed the disciplines just a little bit. Say, for example, the Tzeentch discipline became the Pandemoniac discipline. The datasheets still reference the old ones, so technically that is something that Games Workshop should update at some stage. But honestly, I think if anyone splits hairs over that sort of thing, that's just being very picky. It's obvious what they mean. I don't think anyone would credibly say that these models just don't get any psychic powers because their discipline no longer exists. Anyway though, let me know what you think of the changes. I'll be interested to hear the takes of anyone who does happen to own any Forge World Chaos Demon models, and how they'd think about putting them on the table if at all. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'll certainly keep up with the regular 40k rules changes. I do tend to post new 40k videos just about every day. Finally, if you'd like to help support the creation of more videos like this, I'd just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well. You can find that links down in the video description. Channel patrons get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.